And now, Lifestyles Unlimited presents the Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Over the next hour, we unfold your map to financial freedom. You'll learn how to retire through investing in single-family and multifamily real estate. You'll learn how to create cash flow and build wealth so you can have the time and money to live the lifestyle you want.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And we're doing so today by talking to you about a deal. What's that? What's a deal? Is a deal really a deal, or is it just something you're talking about on the radio? Well, that's a good point. How do we break that down? Well, I guess we start and we explain it the way a Lifestyles Unlimited member would explain it to another Lifestyles Unlimited member. I think that's the way to do this. Now, some of you just joined the show and you're like, I don't even know why I'm here. What is this Lifestyles Unlimited thing? Well, Lifestyles Unlimited is a real estate investor, education, and mentoring company. That's the two functions it performs, and it does it extremely well. We've been in business since 1990. We were founded by Del Walmsley, our founder, back in 1990, with the mission to help people like you and me understand that there is a better way to achieve retirement, and it's not to do what you're currently doing. It's to do what I'm currently doing. It's what the members of Lifestyles Unlimited are currently doing. It's investing in real estate. Now, you've heard about real estate. Everybody says, yeah, when I get rich, I'm going to invest in real estate. Well, what if I told you you don't have to wait until you're rich to invest in real estate? As a matter of fact, I think that's a huge fallacy out there. I think that those of us in American society have been conditioned to believe that only the wealthy can invest in real estate. It's not true. It's totally not true. I invest in real estate. I don't consider myself ultra wealthy or super wealthy. I consider myself very comfortable. I consider myself very retired. I consider myself someone who lives off of an income stream in the form of cash flow that is provided to me based off of the things that I've invested my time and my treasure in. And I'm doing things differently than you. Now, I used to do things the way you're doing them now, but I don't do it that way anymore, because I discovered Lifestyles Unlimited. I became a member. I got educated. I got mentored, and I went to work changing a problem that I had with retirement from the get-go. I addressed the problem that I had with retirement, and I fixed it. Now, I've talked about that problem on this show before. I'm not gonna belabor the point, just to let you know that I had a retirement problem prior to becoming a Lifestyles Unlimited member. And that retirement problem was specifically this: I did not have enough income to meet or exceed my expenses of living. And that was a problem. And I had to go back to work because that's all I knew how to do. So I went back to work, got a job, got miserable, was looking for a way out, discovered Lifestyles Unlimited, listened to the content, tried to poke holes in the content, couldn't do it. It was relevant information. And then I checked out Lifestyles Unlimited. I had my scam meter on. Yeah, my scam meter. You know what that is, right? That's when you can detect a scam a million miles away because your scam meter's on. Well, I had my scam meter on, and it didn't go off. What I found was that Lifestyles Unlimited was genuine, that it truly has a system, has a approach. I don't even know if that's the correct term. Programmatic. I don't even think that's right. But those of you that know where I'm trying to go, thank you. Appreciate you. What I'm trying to say is that Lifestyles Unlimited can take everything that you need to know about investing and lay it out in front of you. Show you what right looks like. Show you different paths that you can travel down, different ways of investing within the real estate model. And by investing in real estate, you could actually accelerate your timeline for retirement. What does that mean, accelerate your timeline? Well, if you thought that you had to work until you were 60, maybe 70, before you could retire, one of the things that you'll find out when you check out Lifestyles Unlimited is that you can actually retire a lot sooner. Because when you invest in real estate, you're doing things differently than what you're doing right now. Right now, you're primarily invested for equity growth. That's what you're doing. You're buying a stock at a certain price and hoping it goes up in value. And when it doesn't go up in value, if it declines in value, you buy fractional shares, right? Yeah, I sound like your financial planner now, don't I? Yeah, you're going to do dollar cost averaging when the price goes down, and then you'll be fine. Well, I don't think the dollar cost averaging is as effective as buy low, sell high. I think when you buy low and sell high, and you let the stock market fall till it gets low, then you buy again, ride it up, sell high, I think that's a more effective model. But it's a more difficult model to pull off, right? So what about this real estate investing? Why the real estate investing? Why is it more effective? Because real estate pays you multiple ways. Not just one way, but multiple ways. And one of those ways is in the form of cash flow. And you use that cash flow to offset your expenses of living as you develop the cash flow. It increases your ability to retire with every asset you put into your portfolio. Pretty cool stuff, right? When we come back in the next segment, I will talk to you about an asset that could potentially change your world. Stick around. Welcome back to the show. So we're going to talk about an asset. Now, this is an asset that you could buy. I mean, it's available for sale right now. It's an asset that was presented to the Lifestyles Unlimited community. And if that asset meets somebody in the community's buying requirements, they're going to connect with the Lifestyles Realty teammate that provided it to us. And they're going to go through due diligence. They're going to figure out whether or not the asset makes a lot of sense for their investing strategy. And if so, they're going to buy the darn thing. And then they're going to improve it. And then they're going to put it back into service as a really nice piece of real estate that people want to live in. And by doing that, they're going to get paid 5 different ways. Yeah, 5 different ways. With, I think, the most important way being the cash flow. And here's why I think cash flow is important. You don't get any of it right now. Yeah, with what you're doing for investing, you don't get any cash flow. And if you do get a dividend distribution, it, by law, has to go back into your retirement account. You're not allowed to touch it. The government feels that if you were allowed to touch your money, you would touch your money, and that would defeat the purpose of your retirement account. The government feels that you're too ignorant or incapable of controlling yourself. That's how the government sees you. Now, it's not how I see you. I see you as a competent, capable person who has the ability to change what they're doing for retirement. Now, I don't want you to just on a whim go, okay, I'm out of the stock market and I'm into real estate. Because that would be dumb. What you need to do is join Lifestyles Unlimited. Become a member. Check us out. Go to lifestylesunlimited.com. When you get there, click on Start Here. Figure out if membership makes sense to you. And when you decide that it does, become a member. It's not going to hurt. What it's going to do for you is it's going to educate you. It's going to teach you things that you've never learned before. Things that kind of were overlooked by the people that cared about you, maybe because they just didn't know about them. So Lifestyles Unlimited is going to teach you how to invest in single-family and multifamily assets, how to do it correctly. It's going to teach you a lot of things in addition to that. And then we'll turn you loose on the world and let you go out and buy some real estate armed with the knowledge of how to do it correctly. Now, every time I present a property on this particular show, I do, okay, for those of you that listen a lot, do I ever, okay, on occasion I do, but do I ever start off by saying, well, this is a pretty little house. It's green paint on the outside. It's got a silver tone roof. Do I ever do that? No, I never do I? And if I do, and I have done it, I will admit I have done it on one or two occasions. If I do it, I'm making a point. And the point is this. It doesn't matter what real estate looks like when you're looking to buy it. It really doesn't matter because you're going to figure all that stuff out. What you need to understand is the potential of the asset. Can you buy the asset for a good wholesale price? Can you improve the asset while maintaining that wholesale pricing? And then can you command a higher retail price in the marketplace when you've done all the renovations that need to be done on the asset? If the answer is yes to all three of those questions, then you've potentially found an asset that's going to make sense for you. So how do you do this? How do you determine whether or not this thing makes sense? Well, you use metrics that are available to you in the marketplace. The realtor who's on your team, they're going to help you with some of this information because they've got access to this data and they're willing to share it with you. So Ishel sent me a property that's in the San Antonio, Texas marketplace. Now, as Lifestyles Unlimited members, we really like buying single family in San Antonio because we can make a lot of money 5 different ways. And this particular property that she sent out indicates that the property is available for $132,000. Is that enough information for you to buy it? And the short answer ought to be no, not even close. Not even close to enough information to buy it. What that's telling you is what the price is based on the current location of the asset in the neighborhood that it exists in. $132,000. Now, is that enough information for you to buy it? And I'm going to tell you, no, it's not. You need something else to compare it to. For instance, what would this asset be worth in the same neighborhood if it were amongst the best of the best in the neighborhood? In other words, all fixed up, not over improved, but just right for the neighborhood. what is that value for the asset? And Eshell says these properties are trading for $193,000, all fixed up. But this one is not fixed up. But it's not in bad shape either. She indicated that in the email. She said light rehab. So what is a light rehab? Well, light rehab is probably going to take you, I don't know, cost you about $20,000, $30,000 to do. Eshell estimates it's going to be about $19,000 to do the renovations that need to be done on this deal. And then you're going to have some closing and holding costs of about $10,000. When the dust all settles, you're going to capture $32,000 worth of equity in the asset. $32,000. That's the difference between the all fixed up price, the retail price, if you will, and the wholesale price that you're at because you bought it at a wholesale price, you renovated it at a wholesale price, you kept your all-in cost to a wholesale price, yet the retail price is $32,000 higher. So you're capturing in an extra $32,000 of equity in this asset. Sounds pretty good, right? But here's what you don't know. You don't know how much money you've got to put into it. So in the next segment, we'll break that down for you. Stick around. Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. And we're doing so today by, well, we're breaking down a deal for you. We're breaking a deal down for you, and I've given you the wholesale information, I've given you the retail information, but what I haven't told you is how much money you're going to have to dip into your pocket and pull out in order to make this deal work. Now, at Lifestyles Unlimited, we're going to teach you a methodology of investing that makes perfect sense. But it is not a zero money down methodology. And there's a reason for that. Zero down can be problematic. It can be very problematic. The balance of your transaction doesn't flow as well when you're doing no money down because you're overly leveraged. Now, I could get into, well, I could do a whole show on being over leveraged, but I don't want to. What I want to communicate to you is that in order to have the most effective real estate deal, you got to have skin in the game. You do. You've actually got to put some of your own money into the deal. Now, it's possible, and it happens a lot in the Lifestyles Unlimited community, that you may put together a deal where you don't have to put any money into the deal. And that effectively is a no money down deal. But it works better for us as Lifestyles Unlimited members because we're not paying full retail price for the property. We're paying a wholesale price for the property. We're capturing $32,000 in this particular asset that I've been telling you about in this episode. $32,000. That gives us a buffer between our all-in wholesale price and the market-driven retail price. And that's a good thing. So how much money do we have to put into this deal in order to make it work? Okay. You ready? Are you sitting down? $19,250. That's what we estimate, $19,250. Now, some of you are like, oh, that's a lot of money, bro. Yeah, if you were just, going to your checking account and writing a check for $19,250, that might seem like a lot of money. But if you go to your investment account and you've got plenty of money in your investment account, you could take a portion of that investment account and write a check for $19,250 and put this deal together. So for $19,250, you're capturing an additional $32,000 of equity. You have almost $52,000 of total equity in this deal. $52,000, just shy of that number. And it only cost you $19,250 to buy it. It's kind of a good thing, don't you think? I mean, where else can you invest $19,250 and pick up an additional $32,000 of equity? Can't do it doing what you're doing now, but you can do it with real estate when you understand how to do it correctly. It's pretty simple that way. Now, what else can I tell you about this asset? You want to know the square footage? Okay. 1,546 square feet. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, no garage. Built in 1961. Located in San Antonio, Texas. What else do you need to know? Well, there's a few more things that you want to know. For instance, does this property produce cash flow? Is there an income generated by this asset, an income that pays you monthly? And the short answer is yes. This asset generates $239 of cash flow every month. Now, I'm going to ask you a silly question, but I'm going to ask you the question anyhow. Can you retire off of $239 a month? Yeah, I already know the answer. Yeah, you're screaming it. I hear it. It's a no. I can't do that. Yeah, I can't live off of $239 a month. And I feel you. I can't live off $239 a month either. But think about it. What expense do you have in your household that costs about $239 per month? Well, for me, it's my auto insurance premiums. Yeah, it's not quite $239 per month. It's just under. So why am I bringing that up? Because you could use this $239 of income every month to pay your auto insurance payment. Have you thought about it that way? Well, think about it a minute. You buy one asset, it produces enough income that it covers an expense of living. What if you want to cover the expense of something else in your life? You buy another asset. And then you buy another to cover another expense. And then you buy another to cover another expense. That's the way it works. See that retirement account that you have? That could very simply be your nest egg to start your real estate investing business. Now, the question is, how much money do you have in there, and are you nervous about taking it out? Now, a lot of you are scared to touch that money. It's like the holy grail of money, right? The government says it's growing in there. Government says you can't touch it. Government says they're going to penalize you if you try and touch it. And you're going to pay the taxes when you take it out. Well, let me break it on down for you. Regardless of when you take that money out, you're going to pay taxes. That penalty goes away when you're 59 and a half. If you're not 59 and a half, the 10% penalty applies to you. But there are Lifestyles Unlimited members that are vendors that can help you avoid that. Now, the kicker is you have to be happily married and you have to live in a state where it's permissible. And depending on the type of account, it may or may not work. So there's some conditions. But what I'm telling you is that there is a high probability that you could avoid the penalty. A lot of Lifestyles Unlimited members have tapped into that money. They have imploded their 401k. They've imploded their IRA. They've imploded their 429 plan. Why did they do that? Because they recognized that that money could make them so much more money if it were invested differently than the way it's currently invested. That's why they did it. And they're not looking back. They're not crying in a pool of tears. They're happy they did that. Because now they have assets in their portfolio that are paying them 5 different ways. And for many of them, it's created a situation called retirement, where they've been able to offset their salary. In other words, they've developed enough passive income in the form of cash flow from their real estate investments that income has replaced their salary. So now they're in a place in their life where they have total control over their life. If they decide to stop working, it's not going to damage them financially. If they decide to keep working, not a problem. If they decide to change jobs, not a problem. What they've regained is something called control in their lives. More on this concept in the next segment. Welcome back to the show. So let's get back into this particular transaction opportunity that's available to Lifestyles Unlimited members, not available to you because you're not a Lifestyles Unlimited member, but I'm sharing with you the particulars. And the reason I'm doing it is because I want you to learn. I want you to absorb this information. And it's only going to help you when you become a Lifestyles Unlimited member. It's going to help you see the concepts clearly. It's going to help you understand that there's a different path that you can pursue for retirement, for income, than what you're doing right now. So this particular deal can be bought for $132,000. And it's going to require about $19,250 of your own money in order to get the deal done. Now, effectively, if you're buying it for $19,250 and the property is worth $193,000 when it's all fixed up, you're only paying 10% down. Yeah, I'm telling you, you're only paying 10% down. You're thinking, well, okay, so do I have to get a 90% mortgage? No, you get a 75% mortgage. Well, what's that extra 15% then? That's that equity capture. Oh, is that how that works? Yeah, that's how that works. So you're effectively into the property for less money than you would need if you were to buy this thing the conventional way. And I don't even want you thinking about the conventional way. I want you thinking about the Lifestyles Unlimited way. 10% down. That's pretty good, right? Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. And then, on top of that, not only are you capturing an additional $32,000 worth of equity over and above the $19,250 you put into the deal, you're generating $239 a month in cash flow. Now, when you annualize that cash flow, that's the equivalent of not quite $3,000 a year. $3,000. Well, that's kind of a bigger number than $239 a month, right? Yeah, it is. And when you think about it, when's the last time your employer gave you a raise? And did they give you a raise that was maybe $3,000? If they did, then you're only getting a couple $100 a month in the form of that raise. Yet you've got additional responsibilities, additional duties, additional requirements, right? Yeah. But when you buy the real estate, you inject $3,000 a year into your household budget. If you had 10 of these particular assets, you'd be generating about $30,000 into your household budget per year. $30,000. Now, I want you to think about how much you make per year. Go ahead, think about it. You can yell it out. I can't really hear you, but go for it. You do you. How many assets would you need at $3,000 a year to retire yourself? Go ahead, take your annual income, divide it by $3,000, and that's going to give you a number. And that number is equivalent to the number of houses you would need to replace that income. But let me sweeten it a little bit. You don't really need that many houses, because a portion of what you make gets paid out in taxes. And a portion of what you make goes into your retirement account. So when you're making money as a real estate investor, one of the ways we make money in real estate is we have something called depreciation write-offs that we take on our assets. And those depreciation write-offs usually are equal to or more than the amount of income that we're making on the asset. That means we retain 100% of the income because we have a write-off against it. So we don't pay any taxes. Versus the way you're earning money, which is you're paying taxes on that money. You're paying a retirement fee on that money because you have money going into those retirement accounts. What if you were to strip that away? What if you were to take away the taxes, the Social Security, the Medicare, because we don't pay those as real estate investors? What if you were to take away the contribution that you make every month to those retirement accounts? How much money do you really need to make? Maybe that number is 70% of your original number. So do this. Take 70% of your original number. Go ahead. Divide it by 3,000. What number did you come up with? That's the number of assets you need. Now, you may not be able to buy them all at one full swift approach. You may need some time to buy those. And you may run out of money before you get to the total number of assets that you need to retire yourself. Not a problem. You go ahead and invest. You invest your money. You buy assets. You build your asset count up until you get to the point where you've effectively run out of money. Then you wait a little while. Then you go back to that first asset you bought and you take a look at it and you decide whether or not you should sell it or refinance it. If you sell it, you want to be able to buy two assets to replace the one you just disposed of. If you do a cash out refinance on the asset, you're going to retain that particular asset, and then you're going to use the money that you take out to buy an additional asset. And you'll do that with the second house that you acquired. Do you sell or do you refinance? Then you do that with your third asset. And your next, and your next. And you may have gotten to a point where you've hit your target number. But what if you don't? Wash, rinse, repeat. You keep building up your asset count over time by systematically divesting yourself or refinancing an asset that you have in order to create more assets for your entire asset pool. It's pretty cool how that works, huh? Bet you didn't know you could do that. Well, you totally can do that as a real estate investor. Or what if? What if you get to the point, maybe you get to 20 houses and you decide, you know what? Houses are cool, but I want to get me some multifamily. Wouldn't it be nice if I could buy me, say, a 20-unit apartment complex instead of buying 20 individual houses? And then I would get economies of scale. I'd only have one physical location I'd have to deal with instead of 20 different locations. I'd only have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 roofs instead of like 20 different roofs I'd have to deal with. Might be a better way to go. Oh, and have you heard of something called multifamily forced depreciation? The 6th way we make money in real estate, but we can only do it in the multifamily space. We can't do it in the single family space. Has to do with how valuations are made, the difference between single family and multifamily assets. Yeah, it's a whole radio show. I'm not going to get into it because this episode's almost over. But just understand that you're not locked into one particular type of asset class the entire time you're doing real estate, because you can change asset classes if you need to. Now, you're going to start with residential income producing real estate because that's the sweet spot of real estate. That's where we as Lifestyles Unlimited members make our money. But as we grow over time, we expand our portfolios. We start buying more and more real estate, and we might even venture into other forms of commercial real estate. But for most of us, we're staying true to our multifamily and single family assets. If you want to do what I'm doing, you want to do what the 50,000 members of Lifestyles Unlimited are doing, go to lifestylesunlimited.com. Sign up for a free workshop. Let's get you going.
Thank you for listening to Lifestyles Unlimited's Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Ready for more of the map? Visit lifestylesunlimited.com. Explore our videos and articles. Click on the radio tab to access past show podcasts. View the radio show schedule and listen to our best of radio shows. Want to continue the conversation? Follow Lifestyles Unlimited on Facebook today. We want to meet you as well. Sign up for a free workshop at lifestylesunlimited.com. Until next time, remember, it's not the money, it's the lifestyle.
The information and opinions you hear on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show are those of the hosts, guests, and callers and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this station, its affiliates, its management, or advertisers. The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.